Residents of Fort Good Hope in the Northwest Territories got a rare chance this week to talk about how oil production in Norman Wells affects them. The Canada Energy Regulator was in the community for a 3-day hearing. The federal regulator will use the evidence to rule on 2 proposals from Imperial Oil. Sarah Komolowski was following the hearings this week, and she joins me now with more. So what is Imperial asking for, Sarah?
So they're actually asking for 2 things, which the federal regulator, Canada Energy Regulator, has folded into one hearing process. First, they're asking for permission to use drilling to install a new pipeline under the Mackenzie River. That's to replace an old pipeline called Line 490 that was damaged a couple of years ago and caused a leak. It's leaked what's called produced water into the river, and that's water that has been treated but can still contain contaminants. And they want to use a technology called horizontal drilling, which is essentially to drill a tunnel 15 meters below the Mackenzie riverbed, and then they want to install 5 new lines. And the lines would be carrying a mix of things. One would carry natural gas, water for production, electricity, and there would be some oil in a couple of those lines as well. The company is also asked to extend its license to operate in Norman Wells for another 10 years. Right now, it's set to expire at the end of this December. So this week's hearing was one opportunity for people in Fort Good Hope, which is the first community downstream from the oil field, to give their input. And all the testimony that the community members gave this week will become part of the evidence that the regulator will use to make its decision. There will also be written evidence later from Imperial Oil and other parties.
So what are people saying then in these hearings, Sarah?
So community members in Fort Good Hope have a lot of concerns about what's happening at the oil field, especially how it might be polluting the water in Mackenzie River. The community gets its drinking water from the Mackenzie River. They fish from that river. You know, the animals are also swimming from that river, and their kids are swimming in that river because it's the only really accessible body of water. And people are really worried that it's not safe and hasn't been for years. People spoke about seeing an oily film on the water, especially since the leak of produced water a couple of years ago. And they said that they're really worried, again, that it's making them sick.
My grandkids used to go swim in a rabbit skin. I tell them, don't go in the water no more. They start getting sores, eczema. They got all these sores on them. Before that, kids never got sick from the water, but now they just get all kind of sores on them, their fingernails, their skin.
And Gully definitely wasn't the only community member who was concerned that swimming in the water was giving kids skin problems. Others spoke about the high rate of cancer in the community, which many people there do think is related to contaminants in the environment, though in the past territorial officials have said they don't think there's evidence of this. Some community members also mentioned they think the pollution is affecting fish on the river. Chief Colin Puro said that some elders haven't eaten fish in a couple of years because of those concerns. And land guardian Twyla Eji Mazuzumi said it's also affecting traditional activities like fish camps for youth.
So what do they want to see from Imperial Oil?
So there was definitely some differences of opinion. There were a couple people who said that they just really didn't support anything from Imperial Oil. They don't trust the company. But many people said that they wanted more communication and transparency from Imperial. And they want to see the leadership in Fort Good Hope more involved in decision-making about the oil field.
We're decision makers in our territory, and we should be the ones making decisions on these questions, not Canada.
You know, a couple of people suggested that there should be more frequent and clear communication from Imperial about what's happening in Norman Wells. They say that they really don't hear a lot from the company, and when they do, the information they get can be really jargony. And they also want, again, to be more included, especially when it comes to what the remediation of the oil wells will look like.
What happens next then, Sarah?
So this oral knowledge hearing this week was just a small part of the hearing process for this proposal by Imperial. There's also going to be another virtual hearing in early June where Dene and Toledo and Norman Wells will get a chance to speak. And then there's also a lot of time for written evidence or pre-recorded traditional evidence later in the summer. And the final deadline for Imperial Oil's replies is August 7th. And so then the commission will start making their decision, and they haven't said yet how long we should expect that to take.
Okay, we'll wait for that decision to come in whenever it does. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.